Good morning, class. Okay, well, today we are on day 2 of rules of exponents. Rules of exponents are going to be very important next year. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I hope you're ready to do something new with exponents. We're talking about powers, so today our lesson is we're going to raise a power to a power. Okay, we've talked about how a power means you have a base and you have an exponent. The base is the number that you're multiplying by itself, and the exponent is how many times you're multiplying it. So what does it mean to take a power to a power? Let's look in the past. Let's think about what we've done in the past. In the past, you've added numbers. So that would be like 3 plus 4. You know what that means? To take 3 and to add 4 to it, and then voila, you end up with 7, right? So we know what it means to add quantities. We know what it means to multiply quantities. That's 3 times 4. 3 times 4, we know that we're going to take 3 4 different times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If I have the number 3 4 times, that's going to give me 12. We know what it means to multiply. And now we've reviewed and we know what it means to take the power of a number. 3 to the 4th power means I'm going to take 3 and multiply it by itself 4 times. 3 times, and then 3 times again, and then 3 times again, and then 3 times one more time. That's 3 to the 4th power. So the question is, what does it mean to raise a power to a power? What does it mean if I'm having an exponent and then the exponent is raised to an exponent? It'll look something like this. What if I take 3 to the 4th raised to the 2nd power, or 3 to the 4th raised to the 3rd power? Well, that's kind of like, that's what our lesson's about today. And what's going to really help us is if we learn what it means to expand powers. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the pen now. So if I expand a power, it just means I'm writing out what it's doing. This power has a base of 5 and an exponent of 3. So that means I'm going to multiply 5 by itself 3 times. So to expand it just means I write that out. I'm writing out 5 times itself 3 times. So that's expanding it. You go ahead and pause the video and try to expand 3 to the 5th. Okay? Did you write 3 times 3 like this? Maybe you didn't pause the video. I hope you did. Okay, that's what it looks like expanded out. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So 5 to the 3rd is definitely very different than 3 to the 5th. Let's think about what is 5 to the 3rd. 5 times 5 is 25, and then 25 times 5 is 125. So again, that's 5 to the 3rd. Okay. Well, what is 3 to the 5th? Well, that's 3 times 3, which is 27, times 3 again. 3 times 3, which is 9, times 3 again, which is 27. And I know that 3 times 3 here is going to be 9. Okay. And 27 times 9, 9 times 7 is 63. And the 6 goes up there. And then 9 times 2 is 18, plus 6 is going to be 24. Okay? So that's the number. That's what 3 to the 5th equals as a simplified number. But 3 to the 5th in expanded form would look like what we just crossed out here, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then in compressed form or simplified, we can write it as 3 to the 5th. Okay, that's simplified power form. All right, so let's look back up here. Let's look at 3 to the 4th squared. What does it mean to raise a power to a power? Well, let's just look at 3 to the 4th. We know that that's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. But what does something squared means? Squared means you multiply the base by itself 2 times, right? What is the base of that 2? It's 3 to the 4th. That's what we're squaring, is 3 to the 4th. So we're going to multiply 3 to the 4th times 3 to the 4th. Okay? However, 3 to the 4th is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times. And of course, we're multiplying all this. And then this is also going to be 3 times 3 times 3. 4 times. We're all multiplying all these together. So how many 3's are we multiplying? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 3 to the 8th. Man, there's got to be a simpler way to do this, don't you think? Okay, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. That's 3 to the 4th 2 times. So 3 to the 4th raised to the 2nd power is going to equal 3 to the 8th. Okay, this is expanded out, and then this is its simplified power. Alrighty, let's erase. What would 11 squared equal? Can you tell me what 11 squared is? Well, expanded out, it's 11 times 11. Hopefully you know that's 121. But expanding it out means 11 times 11. So in your worksheet, the first few questions you're going to be asked to expand it out. And that's all you do is just write it like that. Let's expand out the one below it. What if it's an exponent for a base instead of, what if there's a variable at the base of an exponent instead of a number? It's the same thing. X to the 3rd just means you're multiplying x 3 times. X times x times x. There was a movie a few years ago called Triple X with Vin Diesel in it. It was kind of dumb, but x to the 3rd, if you expand it out, it's just x times x times x. Okay? And if you're buying shoes, that's a really big shoe size or a shirt size. Okay, so what would y squared be? Let's expand that out. Y squared, expanded out, is going to be y times y. Okay. But what if y equaled x to the 3rd? What if y was a function of x? What if y, we substituted it with x to the 3rd? Well, then y squared would actually be x to the 3rd squared, right? Which, as we just saw, y squared is y times y. So x to the 3rd squared, if y equals x to the 3rd, is going to be x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd. And what is x to the 3rd? It's x times x times x. So if we're doing it twice, it's going to be x times x times x for this one, and then x times x times x for this one. How many x's is that? That's 6. 6 x's that we're multiplying together. Okay? And so that would be x to the 3rd squared. That's what it means to simplify when you raise a power to a power. Okay, well, so do you think there's a shortcut? Yes, there is. Why don't you go ahead and expand this one and see if you can figure out the shortcut. Let's say I have a squared raised, well, see if I can undo that. A squared raised to the 4th power. That's what I was going to say. Here, I'll just erase it all. A squared raised to the 4th power. And so my base is a squared, and the exponent is 4. Well, that's the same thing as a squared times a squared times a squared times a squared, 4 times. So if I was going to expand that out, that'd be a squared times a squared times a squared times a squared. And I know from yesterday, when you multiply a power times a power, you add the exponents. So that'd be 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 again is 6, plus 2 again is 8. So a squared raised to the 4th power is a to the 8th. Do you see a shortcut that I could do? Yes. To raise a power to power, all you need to do, you can skip this middle step and just multiply. Multiply the exponents. So go ahead and stand up right now, and we're going to do this. When you raise a power to a power, you multiply. And you make a little X with, when you raise a power to a power, you multiply the exponents. Just remember to multiply the exponents when you raise a power to a power. Guys, have a great day. One last thing, I'm going to show you just a few examples on your worksheet, okay, before the battery dies here. All right, so for these first ones, expanding a power to a power, they just want you to expand it. So for 2 to the 3rd, I just want you to write it as 2 times 2 times 2. Don't worry about the answer key for these 6, I'm sorry. Just expand it out. And then so for this one, for number 5, that'd be 5 to the 3rd times 5 to the 3rd. Because we're taking that base of 5 to the 3rd and we're squaring it. Okay, that's all I want you to practice for these 6, for the remaining 4. Now, for the ones below it, I want you to actually simplify them. This we did yesterday. We know when you multiply a power times a power, you add them. So that'd be 2 plus 3 plus 4. And that's going to be 9. So that's be 6 to the 9th. Okay. Go ahead and do that with this one as well. Let's go ahead and look at this. When you raise, let's look at this one over here because it's kind of an exception. When you raise a power to a power, you multiply. So we'd multiply this power, which is 0, times that power, which is 4. What's 0 times 4? It's 0. And anything raised to the 0 power is what? Equal to 1. That's all you need to do for these. If you're dividing, just remember to subtract and have fun. Have a great day.